Best known for co-founding big brands like the John Paul Mitchell Systems and Patron Spirits, on top of proudly being an Austinite, John Paul DeJoria recently released his memoir, Success Unshared Is Failure, and he joined us right here in studio to unpack it all, so take a look. Joining me now is entrepreneur, philanthropist, and author John Paul DeJoria. John, I'm so excited that you are here. How are you?
It's my pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me on your program.
Yes, of course. So your brand new memoir, Success Unshared Is Failure, is out now. So why now? Why do you want to write this?
Well, it's taken me 2.5 years to write this, and my motivation was this. People have been asking me for years, JP, what you did in 1980 to start Paul Mitchell with no money, no nothing, and then Patron 9 years later, knowing nothing about the industry whatsoever, but still being a big success. Can you still do it today? If so, how did you do it? How do you get money when you have no money? How do you sell a product when you have no money to make it? How do you promote it? How do you get into an industry you know nothing about? So I said, you know what? It is a good story, but more important, it shows people today, and they need it more than ever, that America still works. Can you do it? You can do it easier today. There's so many great things happening in America if you know how to happen. So my story shows you exactly, not just my life coming from nothing, you know, and all of a sudden achieving the American dream, but it still works today. And a step for step, how to do it. That's what people wanted to know.
Yeah.
And along the way, things that people don't know that I want to expose. How can a high school graduate be one of the guys that flew into Libya to convince Omar Gaddafi to release the 2 suspected terrorists of Pan Am Flight 103 to go on trial? That was me. And I'm not an agent of the CIA or FBI. There was all these things. How in the world did that happen? But how can you do it today and still be nice and spiritual about it? And that's what it's all about. So I did it as my gift to the world, and it took me 2.5 years. It was hard. I'd never written a book before.
Yeah.
But we got it done.
Well, what I think is really cool is like this kind of overall message that you just spoke to. The way you got there is just this incredible, beautiful life journey that you've had, right? And I want to back up in time because throughout the book, you share a lot of really vulnerable stories and things that you've experienced in life, right?
Oh, failures galore.
Right. One thing that really stuck out to me, though, was talking about being raised by a single mom. I had that shared experience as well. And, you know, a lot of people at home do, too. A lot of us grow up in single parenthood homes.
Correct.
The family dynamic is changing a lot over the last few years. How impactful was being raised by a single parent for you? And what was your relationship like with your mom? And then maybe even like, how did that kind of, you know, impact the way you moved through life as you grew up?
Great question. We came with nothing. We had a deadbeat dad, left before we were 2 years old. My mother had to work really hard, was even ill for about 4 years. So we were in a foster home for a while and got to see mom every other weekend, sometimes every weekend. But my mom was so positive. She would do little things like have a little teeny piece, maybe 2 ounces of filet mignon, and cut it in 3 pieces for my brother and I and say, boys, this is how people have a lot of money to eat, called filet mignon. So we eat just like the people who have lots of money. We never had a TV, so we didn't know what the other side looked like. She'd do things like that. And God, I know at 6 years old, she'd take us down to downtown LA. I was 6, would that be 1950? And they'd have trains, merry-go-rounds downtown LA, even a little choo-choo to get you there. I mean, it was really cool. And there was a guy ringing a bell, and he had a red bucket. She told my brother and I to hold this little dime and put it in the bucket. We said, Mom, that's 2 soda pops. This is 1950, 3 big candy bars. Why do we do that? She said, boys, that's the Salvation Army. There are people that have no food and no place to live. It helps them out. We always have to give. We can afford a dime. We can afford, that's all we can afford this year. We can afford something. Remember, boys, as long as you live, that you will always find people or situations where they need it more than you do, and give whatever you can. If you don't even have a dime, like we had a dime, that's all we have this year to be able to do it with. Dedicate your time. And boys, you could do in the United States of America, because we're first generation American. She came over from Greece on the boat. Whatever you want to do, if you believe in yourself and are kind to people along the way. And boy, was that something that stuck with me for my whole life, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's crazy that you learned about the power of giving back at such a young age. And it showed throughout your life career as well.
From mom.
Yeah, from mom. I think that's really cool. And you know, you really are like the epitome in a lot of ways of this like rags to riches story. And so, you know, as little you, maybe the one putting that dime in the bucket, or even maybe as you got a little older as a young adult, almost figuring out the world, did you ever foresee life panning out the way it has? You know, as you addressed, you're a philanthropist, you have co-founded billion-dollar companies that people are familiar with, like Patron and Paul Mitchell and all these incredible things. So like, did little you ever think it would go the way it has?
No. Didn't even dream of it.
Yeah.
Didn't even know, my friend, that it existed, because I come from absolutely nothing. And that was part of why Success Unshared Is Failure was written. To give people hope that have nothing, that have struggled, that have been fired from lots of jobs like I have, okay? That here's the way around it. Here's how to take a different approach. And when you start with nothing, here's how to do it. Or if you have a company now and you're losing personnel, well, maybe you didn't manage them properly. Here's how to do it with kindness so you don't have that kind of a turnover. In other words, it's a how to do it. And I did it, and you could do it today easier than I did. And that was one of my big motivations, going through all the things I went through, the negative things, the positive things. I mean, a lot of stuff along the way, but you could do it. You know, there's hope. And especially for those that say there is no hope, you can't do it today. Only the rich people can do it. We can't do it. And I was brought on TV a few years ago. JP, you're going to represent the 1%. I said, okay. So I went back to New York, worldwide TV, and they said, well, JP, how does the 1% look at this compared to Occupy Wall Street? I said, well, first of all, you have it wrong. I'm the 1% and I'm the 99%. It's we, the people of the United States of America. The dream is so true still. And if those that are, posting, let's occupy Wall Street, and they are, right? If they knew the dream is possible today and that people like me could make it and how we made it, my God, they'd say, oh my gosh, instead of protesting, let's just do it. The American dream really works. Sometimes on TV, people get really polarized with the wrong message that America's no good, only so many people do, and they run everything. That's not true. That's not true.
I think it's interesting you keep mentioning American dream, because you talked about how your mother was a Greek immigrant, right? And so it's like you have lived out, I don't know how her life went, but you have lived out that dream for her, it feels like, in a lot of ways. Yeah, which I think is really cool. But when you look back, when you reflect, if you had to pinpoint one, what's maybe your proudest achievement?
I'd say the proudest thing that ever happened was when I first started out very, very young, and my young wife deserted me and my son because she didn't want to be a mom. We were just too young in those days. And I would think that the fact that we were able to have nothing, no car, no money. We were evicted because she never paid the rent and everything else. And then that was the time when we were totally down and out. Me and the little boy, she left the son with me saying, I can't be a mom anymore. He's better off with you. I'm just too young. I want to do other things. The fact that we were at the very bottom, you can't get any lower than that. And we turned it around and made it with positive thought and figured out how to make money when you have no money. Collecting Coke bottles, soda pop bottles, for example, and turning them in.
My grandparents did that growing up.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
still do it, actually. But yeah.
Well, your grandparents are probably, if they are still alive, around my age right now.
Well, yes. But I mean, it's good. It's good fundamentals that you learn, right? You learn the value of a dollar. You learn the important things. You learn what those things can get you.
And people have to know that today. That's why Success Unshared Is Failure. It was starting to be delivered as of last week. I think last Wednesday is when they start delivering the book. But I guarantee anyone that reads it, it was worth my time of 2.5 years to write it. Because there's no one that's not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. And I'm excited for people to see that. I want to take a side step here for a second. So your family foundation, Peace, Love, and Happiness, is now in its 15th year, which is just incredible. Tell me why this was originally created and what those 15 years have looked like for you.
Well, it's because when you come from absolutely number, you're at the very, very bottom, and all of a sudden you start getting something, some money especially, and you're able to help others the way you always wanted to, and even monetarily. Oh my God, does it make you feel good? And I know so many people, like in the Giving Pledge, mostly all billionaires, okay? The pledge is this: we will give away about half of our wealth before or after we die, or between the two. Well, some are like me, they do it between the two, some now and some later on, millions. But it makes us feel good when you do something for somebody else and ask absolutely nothing in return. It is the greatest high you will ever get. And it's not charity, my friend. I'm investing in my grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I do have three of now, great-grandchildren's future. I'm investing in their future so things go better for millions millions of people, and my epitaph has got to be, and I want it that way. He came with nothing, but realized that he's got to help others along the way if he's successful, and by gosh, he did it. So he's a success. Success unshared is failure.
Yeah, which I think is so cool, and this kind of leads perfectly into the next thing I was going to talk about, which is that you live by this philosophy that you kind of touched on just there, that real success only matters when it's shared with those around you.
That is correct.
At what point in life do you feel like you were able to really grasp that and take it and run with it? And then also once you realize that and live by it, how did it change everything for you?
I think that in my early 20s, when I had no money, it stuck with me. So I would go up to Griffith Park where the bikers hung out, and on Thanksgiving and on Christmas, and help serve food. Didn't have any money, just help serve food when we had feed-ins up there, all of those. And then as we went on, and I started Paul Mitchell, and then 2 years later, we actually made enough money. We had $2,000 each, my partner and I, left over. I was able to give a helping hand to a table full of inner city children that could barely order anything off the menu, and be able to pick up their whole bill for them and not let them know that I did it. Do not let them know, or the ladies, that I did it. And then I realized, when the waiter told them that, hey, order whatever you want, someone's picking up the bill and the tip, and take a little extra to take home with you if you want. And she said, well, who did it? And he wouldn't tell her, because I said, you cannot tell her. And she looked around at me, included in this big restaurant, everybody, with her back to me. She said, you have no idea what you did for me and these children. No idea, whoever you may be. Chills ran through my body and the person I was with at the time. And it just meant that, wow. And for a couple of days, I didn't walk on water. I'm not Jesus or anybody else, but for a couple of days, I felt like just one of the happiest, luckiest people on the planet. And that's where it really registered. Boy, does this stuff work. And here in Austin, Texas, Mobile Loaves and Fishes, helping move hundreds of disabled people and able, but all homeless, into shelters and give them jobs. My God, when I built the Entrepreneur Center there, people said they're homeless people. What are they going to do? Why are you going to spend $1.5 million on Entrepreneur Center? Well, those entrepreneur people that came in and learned how to do it, whether it was in ceramics, whether it was in jewelry, whether it was in agriculture, whether it was in painting, in the first 18 months after, almost sold almost $200,000 worth of goodies. They got to keep them. And we did the same thing for TOOF, which is the Other Ones Foundation. Those that are mentally, shall we say, challenged. We even put together a skill center that I built for them. They can learn how to do things they're capable of doing. And boy, did that make me feel good. Like, boy, am I on the right track here? And my businesses just grew and grew. I feel that if you give, asking nothing in return, the universe is going to pay you back. But that's not why I did it. I did it because it was the thing to do.
Yeah, giving back is so imperative, even if it's just a small amount, like you said earlier, with the dime in the bucket.
Or your time, you're right, or your time. You got it. You understand, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can just tell how passionate you are about your life's work and your philanthropy and all these incredible things that you've done. But what do you maybe hope is maybe the one takeaway that readers gain from your book?
That America still works, and here's how to do it with the proof, and that you could do it easier today than I did it. Oh my gosh, that was quite a few years ago, 46 years ago, when I started Paul Mitchell. Homeless.
It still works. That's the key
that's
takeaway.
The biggest takeaway. It works for anybody, or someone that has a major company. It works because they'll learn how to be kinder to their staff and how to slow down on their turnover and how to share with their staff and ways to do it. And those that don't have any money and are starting a new business, well, how to get the money? How to get the money when you have no money, nobody wants you? How you convince a distributor who doesn't pay for 45 days to immediately get it? And also, today you can do it so easy. There's something we have in Austin, and it's called Global, GABALSKU.com. It's so cool. I invested in this company, right? For $18. We didn't have that in mind. $18 a month, right? You could take your camera, take a picture of something, used or new, immediately through AI, it shows you not only the item, but the last time it sold and how much it sold for used, and then push a button. Do I want to go on eBay, or do I want to go on this one or that one to sell it? $18 a month, and I think you get something like 20, 25 sales out of it. Unheard of. We didn't have that in my day. It's home based in Austin.
Everything has changed, and there's so many ways to give back, and it can work. Is what I'm taking away from this. You can get your very own copy of Success Unshared Is Failure now on Amazon, online, and in your local bookstore.